Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Wyatt Paints, and today I'll be painting Kang from Marvel United. Let's get started. For this mini, I'm going to start with my darkest tones and use thin layers or glazes to highlight. To begin, I'll be blocking out the main colors, so for Kang, I used Vallejo Ultramarine for his face, Goblin Green for his tunic, and P3 Bad Bruise for his helmet and trim. The goal here is to have a smooth base, so it's important to only add another layer once the previous layer has completely dried. To start highlighting the tunic, I made a 50-50 mix of Goblin Green and Scorpion Green. When putting down the first highlight, try not to go overboard and only cover at most 60% of the base layer. You want to retain that base as your deepest shadow. At this point I felt the model could use some bolder shadows, so I used Bellatane Green sparingly in the folds of his tunic. Since my highlights were already started, I had better visual cues as to where I need deeper shadows. I then finished off the highlights with a mix of Scorpion Green and light livery green. Turning attention to his face, I used a mix of Vallejo Magic Blue and Bad Bruise as the first step of this highlight. Here, the highlight was limited to his forehead, nose, lips, and chin. Before I got any further, I decided to get the whites of his eyes in. Waiting until later would just make it harder to correct any mistakes that could happen doing this. Moving back to his blue face, the final highlight was glazing Vallejo Electric Blue. Again, this highlight was super focused and only on the highest points of his face. With a glaze, it'll take many layers for you to see the effects, but if you're patient, in the end this will give him a very smooth gradient. Turning my attention to the purple, I made a glaze using Bad Bruise and Electric Blue. I used this only on the forward-facing and upturned areas. Being a glaze over a dark color, it will give you a bit of wiggle room, and like his face, it will take many layers to get the lighting effect. As the layers stack up, the areas that have the most layers will have a stronger effect and more pronounced change, while giving a subtle shift to the areas that only got one or two coats. For the ground, I based the rock in cold gray and the dirt in P3 bootstrap brown. I then gave the dirt an all-over wash with Citadel Earthshade. I made sure all of the small rocks had a solid outline while making sure not to have pools in the flat areas. The rocks themselves got a wash in Nuln Oil. I made an effort to ensure that each crack had plenty of shade, but not so much that it would flow down and flood the base of the miniature. Going back to the cold gray, I chose to brighten up certain faces of the rock to show that they were catching light and ignored others, while all the time doing my best to maintain those deep shades in the cracks. Finally, I used Stonewall Gray to give an edge highlight to some of the rocks. For me, edge highlighting is one of those things where less is more. A quick rim of black finishes off Kang, and he's ready to wreak havoc on my next game. From start to finish, Kang took about 90 minutes. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment if you'd like to see more Marvel United figures painted. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.